Once upon a time, there was a collection of literacy strategies. I chose these strategies because I think they will serve my German language learners well. Literacy strategy number 1. Reader's Theater, a rereader's production. I love this strategy because it gives students engaged with the text. Not only do they reread, they rehearse their roles, focusing on conveying meaning via tone and inflection. Senor Woolley likes to use comic books and highly recommends props because they often make students feel comfortable expressing emotion. Literacy strategy number 2. Language experience approach. Based on its name, my initial reaction was to think that my students wouldn't want anything to do with it. But essentially, this strategy is a class story collab. The whole class co-constructs a text using accessible language and student suggestions. The teacher writes down the agreed-upon elements, and students copy the story as it develops, reading it repeatedly until the class writes a resolution. Literacy strategy number 3. RAFT perspective writing. RAFT stands for Role, Audience, Format, and Topic. Students write from a specific perspective for a specific audience in a specified format about a specific topic. The teacher can create a variety of rafts for students to decide between. If I choose the example on the screen, I would write from the perspective of Angela Merkel to Donald Trump via email about McDonald's. This strategy also offers opportunities for collaboration among students who choose the same raft. Time for the main attraction. The literacy strategy I will guide you through in more detail, found poetry. There are different categories of found poetry. Starting with cento, or book spine poetry. If you want to be your librarian's worst nightmare, just take your class to the library, forget to set an alarm on your phone, and watch as students touch more books in a single hour than they have in the past 3 years combined. Create some sort of challenge for students that aids in order restoration, like limiting the number of books they can have out at once, using a camera to document where they originally found the book, and of course, taking a picture of their poem before a certain time so the class can leave the library in decent condition and will have time back in the classroom to upload their photos and debrief. My favorite type of found poetry is blackout poetry, also known as erasure poetry. This poetry is created by erasing or blacking out words until the remaining words compose a poem. This format allows the author of the poem to be an artist as well, designing visual elements to convey mood or tone, and allowing students to work with symbolism if they choose. Old books can be transformed into books of poetry and art with Sharpies, colored pencil, whiteout, or even paint, if you have cleanable surfaces and the patience and space to let everything dry. Now for the main event, ransom note poetry, also known as cutout poetry. This is a poetry collage incorporating any number of words, letters, or images that the author found, cut out, arranged, and pasted according to their liking. You can work with any of the following supplies: newspapers, magazines, old books or notebooks, letters, emails, song lyrics, etc. You could even specify a source text, such as a short story that you read together in class. If you have artists who prefer to work digitally, you could set up a shared folder with pre-approved text sources. I wanted to create my own example of blackout poetry in German, but I couldn't find a spare page I was willing to part with, and there weren't any decent pictures online of entire book pages, so you'll have to make do with this ransom note poem I created digitally. Here is my finished product. Although I'm not happy with the aesthetic, I'm happy with the poetry I found in a folder full of German texts. Mein Schatz, mein Klassenzimmer is the title, which means my precious or treasure, my classroom. My treasure, my classroom, the secret magic forest, where the wild things are. Miss Teacher, he's sleeping, said the little prince, who said something about everything. The little witch climbed onto her desk and shook her magic wand. The children giggled, and the terrible wild animal woke from its winter slumber and thought on only one thing: travel around the world. Stay yourself always, perhaps we'll try it together. Alright, and here is my digital process. I saved a bunch of pictures with text that I thought would be somewhat accessible to my second-year German students, and words and phrases worth repeated exposure. I loaded the images into my favorite art program, ideally something that would let me trim and crop pictures at any angle. I cut out any words and images that I wanted. One benefit of working with phrases is that it can act as a template for grammar decisions. I could even give students a set of grammar charts and basic verb conjugations to cut and paste with. For instance, there are many times pronouns and the articles a and the change depending on their case, whether they refer to a subject, direct object, or indirect object, for instance. If you zoom in on the pink letters, you can see where I had to change the article preceding Zauberstab from die to den, because the magic wand is grammatically masculine and is the direct object of the sentence. Previously, the text had referred to shaking arms, or die Arme. I also feel like the process of translating the found German into English will benefit my students. This project would be a great opportunity to move through the classroom and help students with individual challenges or struggles, giving them feedback and encouragement, while I get to know more about their interests and artistic talent and instinct. Here are examples of article charts that I would show students how to use and want to give students practice with throughout the year. I would print off copies of these and upload them to the shared text folder for this project. Here are some very useful conjugation charts to help students pick the right form of the most common verbs. I think that part of the initial frustration with learning a new language is not having the words to say exactly what you're trying to say. However, this exercise encourages resourcefulness and can show students that they have more resources than they realize if they tap into their creativity. Das Ende, or the end. Vielen Dank, Dankeschön. Thank you for watching. P.S. Here are some other supplies that I may have forgotten to mention or didn't picture earlier. Glue, tape, Sharpies, highlighters, colored pencils, markers, paint if you're brave, scissors, double-sided tape is awesome, and here's some feedback I have for myself as I reread my poem. Forest is spelled with one R, not Forrest Gump with two R's. Thanks again for your time. Bye.